Good morning, my loves. I hope you're doing well. Missed you yesterday. Sorry, I was just too tired. Too much of a Monday to get any thoughts together. I hope you're well. Sorry, I'm a little huddled up here. It's fairly chilly this morning. And so anyway, I'm all bundled up in the car. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about a really important principle that will have a huge difference in making you happy, okay? And that difference is essentially being very careful with who you listen to and take advice from and who you let into your life in terms of influence. I feel like it's such a privilege for anyone to inhabit our minds and our hearts that we ought to really charge them a high price for their influence in our lives. What I mean by that is that we kind of insist that they prove themselves by being good, reliable sources. Now, I don't mean like if your mom is trying to tell you to do something, you say, prove it, Mom. What I mean is that we are a little skeptical about anyone who wants to tell us how to do something, and that we go in with kind of a like, yeah, okay, I'm going to listen, but I'm going to kind of expect this to have some impact. That we don't just listen openly. And here's why I mean that. Like, here's why I think you need to be skeptical. First of all, the number of voices that are now available to tell us things is just magnified and amplified and multiplied. There's just so many people who are literally trying to influence us. And so we need to be a little careful and skeptical, because they may not really have they don't have our best interests in heart necessarily. That doesn't mean they're bad people, but what their incentives are different than just trying to make sure we're all well. But the other thing is this: don't listen to people who are bitter and sour, unless you also want to be bitter and sour. The thing about finding trusted guides is that they're often not going to be the flashiest, most exciting, novel person. For example, I had a friend of mine who's a doctor just laments the fact that, he studied all this time, he really tries hard, he stays up on research, all this stuff, and yet, people will basically take what they find on Google, like some article on Google or AI, and basically say, well, I know you think this, but here's what Google's telling me. Which, I get that sometimes doctors are wrong. I'm not saying they're infallible, but I'm just saying more often than not, probably you're going to get better advice from your doctor than from a random, blog or newsletter or something like that. Likewise at work, there's always people who are sour and bitter, and seems like they know a lot, but they're always grumbling about the boss or other coworkers. And yeah, coworkers and bosses, like, that's just life. It can be very frustrating for work. That's why they pay us. Work is not like a family. It's people who are humans. But there's just always someone who's just kind of got an attitude. But somehow it seems like they always give the impression they really know what's going on. And so people listen. It's easy to fall into. But they're not the good guides. Likewise, if you want whatever it is you want, don't listen to the person who is failed at it or who is against it. Listen to the person who is doing what you want to achieve. All right? So, like, if someone is really angry and cynical about relationships, if you want a relationship, probably don't be following that person who's really cynical. If you, want to learn how to be disciplined with your money, probably need to follow someone who has done that, as opposed to just, whatever, some random person we know tells us. I could go on and on, but I just, for whatever reason, this is human nature. We tend to sort of assume that other people have this secret knowledge that we don't have, and we're easily led to follow them, when usually, always exceptions, the secret is really not that secret. It's often fairly simple but hard to do. The other thing is that, the people who are perhaps the least experienced and knowledgeable often are the flashiest. They are with it, they're young, they're cool, they use all the right terms, And a lot of times people who really have good experience to share are awkward, and they're older, they're not, they might use examples that seem outdated. They might feel like they really don't know what they're doing. Like, they might feel like they're just not up on how contemporary life is. But that's kind of the reality is that often it's those people who know because they've had experience. So anyway, just be very selective is a good word with who you allow into your head and how you let someone influence you. All right. Look carefully at their, either credentials or, do they practice what they preach? Does it seem like they're succeeding in what you want to succeed in? And are they telling you stuff that is, based on kind of, flimsy or, I can't think of the right word here, flimsy or kind of minimal evidence. Just some things to think about. This will help you a lot, though. It'll help you avoid a lot of mistakes. All right. Love you all. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you later. Love, your internet grandpa.